Hi, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis here, and it is January 12th, middle of the afternoon, and I figured I'd come out and show you some blooms and talk a little bit about what I want to do for my next video. But first of all, let's talk about the blooms. So I've got some Catasetum group blooms and one Cattleya bloom that I want to show off. And yeah, let's get started. So I'll save the best for last, which in my opinion is the Cattleya. However, I'm going to start off with one of my favorites, which is Catasetum Black Knight. This is a primary hybrid between Catasetum tenebrosum and Catasetum expansum. And this particular one has probably some of the best color of any Catasetum hybrid I've ever seen. And the fact that it's a primary is great. I really like primaries as opposed to complex hybrids. But it's a large plant, as you can see. I'm growing it using the PET method, of course, which I am for pretty much all of my plants, all of my Catasetums anyway. And it blooms 3-4 times a year, and it's very free flowering, very easy to grow. You know, I think I chopped this one up last year and sold off a piece, but I'll let you check this out. So, it smells great. It smells like a sort of a minty flavor. It's everything about this plant is amazing. I absolutely love it. But check out the color on this. So I'm looking at the screen and it looks like it shows up black, which is fairly true. This is a very dark flower with that really creamy white callus there in the middle. Great presentation, you know, arching, relatively well-spaced flowers. On this particular bloom, you can see that the lip is reflexed back a bit, and that changes from bloom to bloom. It seems especially noticeable on this one, but it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love this one, and I'm sure you can see why. And the sort of minty scent just makes it that much better. But you know, as the sun is starting to peek through the clouds here, I'll see if I can get this. If you guys can see this, so there really is no black in Catasetums. The sort of the black that you see from the Fred Clark Yars in this one as well, it's a red pigment. It's a very dark red pigment. It's so dark that it starts to appear black. But when you see this one in the light, and even some of these really black Fred Clark Yars, you can see that it's actually red. You can see that it's a very dark red. So I'm glad that the sun's coming out right at this time. I'm going to see if you can see that at all. I don't know from the screen where I'm looking at now. It looks pretty dark, you know, but you might just have to take my word for it that these guys are, in fact, not black. They're dark red. Again, this is one of my favorites, and it put out two nice bulbs this year. I'm kind of surprised that it's only blooming on one, but you can see, well, now that I think about it, you can see this older bulb from 2019. I think this was the first one that popped up in 2019. I've got two spent bloom spikes on it. So hopefully this one will bloom again this year in 2020. It finished maturing late 2019, and it should start growing again soon. So I'm going to swap that one out with this one. Now I don't know where to put this guy. All right. Don't fall. So this is the one that I show a lot. This is my very first video was the PET method repot one, and this one is the same one. This is Clowesetum Dragon's Treasure, and the clonal name is Cardrona. But you can see It's got this is the last bloom spike of the year, and it has been in bloom, I believe, since September, just nonstop, spike after spike after spike. As I've said in other videos, really nice, very strong anise, spicy scent. Gets it from the Clowesetum. And recently, on my first video, Armando Betancourt, who grows a lot of Catasetums, really nice Catasetums, he asked me, he said, hey, can you do a follow-up video to show how a year of PET method did for this particular plant? So I might as well do that right now. So like I said, this has been in constant bloom since about September. It's now early to mid-January. And you can see, so this particular pot is an Italian biscotti pot from plastic bottle from Costco, and it's huge, and you can see that the whole thing is filled up. So this plant is officially at its maximum, and you can see which ones just grew in this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 bulbs, and I think I cut this one up and sold a piece of it last year. So 5 massive bulbs in a single season, pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with this, and I will chop this up again this year. I'm going to repot this one. I don't see any new growths coming out, so I've probably got a few weeks before I have to repot it. So I'll cut this and sell, 1 or 2 bulb cuttings, because that's what you do with Catasetums. So for other orchids, you typically want 3 bulbs plus a new growth at sort of a minimum. These guys, you can sell 1 bulb at a time, and it's fine. It doesn't bother the plant. They'll pop back up. In fact, I originally bought this as a single bulb division from a friend 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm pretty sure I've cut it up and sold pieces of it almost every single year. It's so prolific. Anyway, so I guess this counts as my update of a whole season of PET method for this particular plant. Non-stop blooms and big bulbs. I do want to show that, I don't know if you can see the back bulbs. There's the 2 oldest bulbs here. They're kind of that yellow-brown color on the bottom. That is a color that's not a problem. I see a lot of Catasetum growers look at that and freak out and immediately cut those bulbs off, but you don't need to. This sort of orangey yellow color is just the plant reabsorbing those nutrients during dormancy. In fact, you can see this one. I don't know if you can see it, but it's getting crispy on top. So this guy here has that yellow-orange color, and there's still some meat left to it. The plant is, like I said, slowly absorbing those nutrients. The top of the bulb is getting crispy. In maybe a month or 2, this plant will... I'll be able to snap those bulbs off, and they'll be dry with no moisture in the middle. And that is healthy. That is okay. If your Catasetums, especially your large Catasetums, start doing that, it's fine. It's not a problem. Don't freak out and cut those bulbs off. Those nutrients are stored in those bulbs for later use. So if you cut that bulb off because you panic and you think it's rotting, it's not rotting if it's sort of an orange-yellow color. But if you cut that off, suddenly your plant is like, what the heck? All these nutrients that I was using for this dormancy are now gone. And maybe it'll start absorbing one of its newer bulbs, and you probably don't want that. Anyway, before I rotate into the Cattleya that's right next to me, I do want to mention, I've talked in some of my other videos how weird our weather has been this year. It was hot, 100 degrees plus into October, and then we had a hard freeze in early November. So we had a later than normal summer, or hot season, I should say, and then an earlier than normal freeze. And then now, this January, most people in the United States right now are experiencing kind of a heat wave, and there's record temperatures popping up all over. So the other night, 2 nights ago, we had a really big, strong storm system come through. It's middle January. This is the kind of storm that we typically see in May or June, with the rotating clouds all over, hail in all places, tornadoes touching down. So it's a weird year. It's a weird, probably couple of years we got coming up, maybe century. Anyway, the point of me saying that is I have my catasetums are in kind of flux. So my catasetums are right here. There's still about half the leaves, I would say, are still on them. But I have a lot of plants that are starting new growth, which is weird. So to show you an example, so this is Catasetum tenebrosum. You can see this new growth. Catasetum tenebrosum is usually the earliest species, or if you have Catasetum tenebrosum in your collection, most likely it'll be the first one to start growing in the spring. And obviously it's middle of January, so that's spring for this guy. So when I saw that popping up, I was like, okay, that's a little early, but this is usually the earliest, so it is what it is. Oh, before I put that back, this is a fertilizer experiment that I'm trying, and I'll update y'all probably in about 6 months to let you know how it went. But I have other ones that are doing that as well. So I have a complex expansum hybrid. Got a new growth coming in here. But most interestingly, I have my Catasetum denticulatum with a new growth coming in right now. So for those of you who've grown these guys for a while, you probably know that tenebrosum is the first to break dormancy. You might also know that denticulatum is typically the last to break dormancy. These guys often don't start growing for me until April or May. So to have my denticulatum and tenebrosum breaking dormancy at the same time, and I should say dormancy with air quotes, because this still has leaves. I haven't watered it very much throughout December, and then totally stopped watering in January. So it's super crispy. It is starting new growth. It's still got leaves. Things are weird for catasetums right now. And I don't know if other people are experiencing the same thing, but if you do, I don't know, leave a comment and let's chat. Comment on my page here and let's chat. And if you need any help, let me know. I think in a week or two, I want to do another PET method repotting video. And maybe I'll do 2 or 3 plants, maybe 2 plants. I'll do another big one. Maybe I'll even do this one that I just showed you, the Clowesetum. And then I'll do a small one, probably that tenebrosum. That tenebrosum is going to need a new pot soon. So watch for that. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit here from Catasetums to Cattleyas. And I want to introduce to you Cattleya maxima. And this color form is concolor. So as you can see, fairly large plant. And here's the concolor. And it has that absolutely amazing Cattleya scent. So I'm pretty sure it was this scent alone, the Cattleya, the sort of classic Cattleya scent, that got me into orchids as a 12-year-old kid. So as a 12-year-old kid, I had some big floofy complex hybrid. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's dead, I'm sure. But I was a kid in Canada, and I just absolutely fell in love with orchids and Cattleyas specifically. But this scent is just amazing. Anyway, see if I can get close up for you there so you can see. So concolor is, it's sort of, I don't know if it's Spanish or Portuguese, but it's one color. So you typically have a very even light lavender throughout the entire flower. But you'll notice that the lip here is white. So, so for most Cattleya species, concolor is going to be this sort of light lavender color throughout the plant. However, for some reason, in maximas, they can have this white lip and still be considered a concolor. I don't know why. The naming conventions for some of the colors of these Brazilian species it's very unique, and I'm not totally versed in it. Anyway, know that this is a really cool color variety that's not very common in maxima. So common maxima coloration is a darker version of this with a darker lavender lip, and you'll typically have these intense striations in the lip. And one of the really cool things about maxima, in addition to it being very easy to grow, is typically the bold tessellations in the lip. This one doesn't have that, but it's still an absolutely beautiful plant or flower. And like I said, fairly easy to grow. Normal Cattleya conditions, bright lights or bright sun. It wants to dry out between watering. And you can see here it's in a clay pot with large grade orchiata bark and big holes in the bottom. And what's interesting about maximas is that I have found they will often grow up. I don't know why that is. It's a little frustrating, but what you can see here is this new growth, which hasn't bloomed yet. So hopefully it'll bloom here in a couple months. Again, it should start putting out new roots. I'm going to tie this guy so it's stable. Tie this bulb down so it's not wiggly. And the roots are going to grow onto this piece of dried wood. So what was happening is, you can see as this plant grew up rather than across the pot, it's putting its roots out in strange ways. I want the roots to grow onto this. As this thing grows, its roots will come down here and ideally waterfall down across this pot and stick again. And when I eventually divide it, it'll be a lot easier for me to divide and simply pop this off and not damage the roots quite as much. And probably sell or trade it to someone else. Another interesting thing about this particular species, Cattleya maxima, is there are two varieties. There's the highland variety and the lowland variety. So the lowland variety is a very tall plant, and the highland variety is shorter. If you held a gun to my head and said, is this highland or lowland, I would say first of all, it's kind of in between. But my guess would be it's a highland plant because it's a little smaller stature than some of these taller ones that I've seen. But no matter whether you have the highland or the lowland plant, they both do very well in warm conditions, which is, of course, how I grow my plants. And again, one last look. See the side lobes there, you see some of those stripes. It's a very cool one. So, I've been asked to do a Cattleya repotting video to show how I do it. So I'll do that in the next couple of weeks. I think I have a few plants which are good candidates, or will be good candidates for a big repotting video. I've got a massive Cattleya amethyst glossa, which I might consider trimming. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. It looks like I also have a Cattleya laudagesii, which is going to come into bloom. I don't know if you can see it. Right? Can you see the bud right there? It's only one flower, but this is a plant that was divided and sent to me from Florida this summer. So the fact that it's even got one bud, I'm pretty excited. I'm happy with that. And then hopefully next year, or about this year, about this time in a year, I'll see what this one can really do. And that's it. So things to come. I'm going to do a PET repotting video next, and then after that I'll probably do a Cattleya repotting video to show how I do it. You know, I see, I watch more and more YouTube videos, and I see a lot of these YouTube people at the end of their videos saying, hey, if you like my video, give me a thumbs up and follow me or subscribe. So I guess I will start doing that as well. I'm not super excited about it. But if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and follow me. Bye.